Magical tree houses. Today, we will learn how artists use their imagination to invent new ideas so we can use our best creative thinking skills to design our own magical tree houses. Take a look at some of these amazing illustrations. These are just examples of many of the different kinds of ways artists use their imagination. These are illustrations from books. Sometimes you also see amazing inventions like this in cartoons and movies. Artists use their imagination in all different kinds of ways when they are creating illustrations for books and movies to try to get people to think about a magical world. How could you invent an amazing magical treehouse using your imagination? Here are some examples of real life tree houses. Take a look at how they are all different. If you've ever seen TV shows like Treehouse Masters on cable, people do amazing things when they put their mind to it, coming up with new and different ways to make things even in real life look magical. For today, day one, I want you to think like an artist. Imagine your design in your brain. If you were going to be the architect of a magical treehouse, what kinds of things would you add? What types of shapes would you need to use to build it? Does your treehouse have a theme? Like, is it a castle theme? Or maybe some type of a movie theme like Harry Potter? Maybe you could make it a cartoon theme like SpongeBob or Pokemon. How will it be inventive or different than other people's treehouses? How big will it be? How wide will it be? Will it attach to a couple of different trees? What special features would it have? Maybe your treehouse would have long stairs, rope ladders, bridges, slides, all different kinds of things you could add. Here are some examples from student artwork to help you think. Take a minute to look and see how each student used their own imagination to come up with creative and unique solutions. Think about where your treehouse might be located, what time of day it would be, or even season outside. Your treehouse could be outside in the wintertime, springtime, summer. It could be in a tropical, warm place, or somewhere up north. It's all up to you. Today we're going to sketch our design after we imagine it in our brains. Using a pencil first, start by drawing your treehouse before you draw the tree. This is actually an easier way to do it. So you'll have to think about how to put your treehouse up a little bit higher in your paper where you would imagine it to be in your tree. And then, after we draw the treehouse, we'll attach the tree around it. Then think about adding special details as you're drawing. What will make your treehouse special and fun? How will you get up and down from your treehouse? What would the landscape look like around it, or the season, or the time of day? For this week, you may want to focus on the drawing and then take next week's time to color it. It's okay to take more than one class time because you probably will need it. Let's take a look at how to get started. In this video, I will show you one example of how to draw a treehouse. Now, my ideas may be very different from yours. I want yours to be unique and special to things that you like. I am also going to show you in this video how to color it, but you may not have time to color it this week. So you could put it aside in a safe place and use next week's class time to add your color.
Okay, friends, so getting started on our tree houses, the first thing you're going to need is obviously a clean sheet of white paper and a pencil with probably an eraser. We will be using whatever you have on hand for adding colors. So if you have colored pencils, That's great for adding color. Obviously, crayons always work too. Markers are fine, but colored pencils or crayons will probably work better for at least coloring in most of your picture. Markers are great for outlining. So to start this, you can either think of something really complicated with a lot of detail or something simple that maybe has a theme. I've actually started two different ones here. This one, I don't know if you can tell by looking at it, but I was thinking of like a dessert theme. I thought it would be really fun just to draw like the shape of a cupcake, and then I had it kind of drop down a little bit like it was sitting in a tree. So I drew the shape first, and then after I drew the shape of the cupcake and I added the doors and the windows, I went back and I drew the shape of the tree underneath the cupcake. Now trees are shaped in about the same shape as a letter, capital letter Y. So drawing two curved lines underneath your tree like this will give it the illusion that that's a tree trunk. Doing straight up and down lines works too, but doing the curved lines works a little bit better because it looks a little more realistic. And then each branch coming out underneath your tree is what's going to make it look like the tree is, or the treehouse is sitting actually inside the tree. So I drew two branches, one going out around my treehouse in either direction. And then to make it look more like a realistic tree, I need to add other branches. Well, the easiest way to do that is to break each branch going in two separate directions. So that's one branch going this way and another branch going the other direction. And I'm going to do that same thing over here. And remember, branches are not always perfectly straight, so adding a little bit of a wiggle into your branches will help your tree look more realistic. Now once you get the branches up higher towards the top of your paper, you can make the branches that you break off into two skinnier, because tree branches get thinner as they grow up high. And you want to make your tree really nice and big, because you can imagine if you put a really cool tree house into your tree, you would need quite a big tree to hold it. So this is how you start with something based upon a theme, like whatever you think would be fun, like whether you want to shape yours in the shape of Pokemon characters. You could totally have a Pokemon shaped treehouse. Or let's say you really love sports and you wanted to do your treehouse in some type of a theme for sports. You could do that. It's really up to your imagination. Once you get the basic shapes of your treehouse, think about adding all those other kinds of details. Like if my treehouse is going to go from one treehouse to the other, I need to think of how are they going to connect. So I added a little rope bridge between the two. And then I thought about, well, how is the person going to get up into the treehouse? So I wanted to use really my imagination and not think about like reality. And so I thought it'd be really cool if I owned a treehouse that had a little hidden door where I could actually go up inside the tree, kind of like a lighthouse, and use that way to get up inside the tree. Another way would be to do like a wooden ladder or some type of a rope climb. Over on this side, on this tree, I made a rock climbing wall to get up into this little platform right here that I made. And making, little decks or platforms or bridges like I did here also work really, really great for your treehouse. And then I'm going to repeat the same process with adding the branches going around my treehouse, and some even peeking out behind it to really make it look more realistic, because trees have lots and lots of branches, not just one or two. So I'm going to continue on and add more details and more branches. And when I'm done, I'm going to think about this space around my treehouse. You want to remember to add the horizon line, which is that imaginary line that separates the sky from the ground. That's always going to make it look more realistic. So instantly, your eye knows that up here is the sky and down here is the ground. So then I can start to add details on my ground, like, okay, do I see the roots of my tree? What does it look like getting up to my door? Okay, so I'm going to put some steps there going up to my door. Do I want a little walkway going up to my tree? Am I going to have grass, texture, or maybe some plants or flowers growing around my tree? I think I'm going to add a tire swing, probably hanging off of this, or some type of a chair swing. So adding details on your ground too will make the whole picture look a lot more interesting to look at. And then in your sky, you can think about things like what time of day it is. Is it nighttime? Is it daytime? Is it spring, summer, or fall? I want to make mine, I think I'm going to do the fall because it's still fall right now. And I'll have it a little bit cloudy outside, so I'll make some clouds at the top of my picture. Maybe I'll have it sunset. So I'll make like a half sun kind of going down on the horizon line, and I can indicate that with a half circle or an arch shape with some rays going out for the sun going down. And that way, if I do the sun going down, I can color the little windows in like they're glowing too. That'll be a lot of fun. So thinking about what your sky looks like, what your ground looks like before you add color. Now when you're ready to add color, one of the things I absolutely love doing is using my markers for outlining. I know I've shown lots of students this before if you've ever had me for your art teacher. I love to use markers for outlining because they really make your artwork pop and stand out. You can see it really, really well. So that is always a great option. And markers are great too for adding texture. And we talk a lot about texture in the art room because it's one of those things you can do to your artwork when you're thinking about all the elements of art like line, shape, color, texture, to make your artwork look really interesting and unique. So I can go in and add some lines for texture on my tree to make my tree look more realistic, give it some tree texture. So that's one of the things that markers are really good for. So I can use my markers for outlining, like I'm going to do my treehouse. I think the bottom of the cupcake, I'm going to do green, because that just seems fun to me. And then when I'm ready, after I'm done doing all the fun little details and texture and marker, I'm going to use colored pencil or crayon to color the inside. So after I outline everything in marker, if you have colored pencils or crayons in your house, you can go ahead and use those. So I would find a brown crayon and I would just really nicely shade in my white open spaces. Just make sure that you color everything. Don't leave a bunch of white space. So it's really important. Even if you don't have enough time for this art class, you could work on it on a different day and finish it up and make it look really interesting just by taking the time to color in all your white spaces, like even the sky. I'm going to color in my sky like a sunset color, color in my grass green, make the whole picture look complete. So I hope you have a lot of fun really using your art skills today, imagining what a magical treehouse could look like for you, and stretching your thinking and trying to really pull out all those cool ideas to make something really interesting to look at. Have fun drawing. Bye-bye.